bumming my phone. My phone blowing up. Come on, you need to go home. Get out. Call me Felicia. High school romance. Now you got a boyfriend. Come on. And I'm still a drug addict. Hold up. I need a fucking blow up. I need a fucking bang. I need some fucking rain. I need a bang.
Speaking of invasive government, Bill 96 just passed.
Oh, what is that again?
So Bill 96 reinforces the French language and forces people to speak in French, essentially. Here in Quebec, for those of you outside of the province listening to this, it's the only French state/province in all of North America. Now, Quebecers feel very strongly about preserving the French language here. And we have laws that are passing which forces immigrants. Okay, that just fell. Which forces immigrants to learn to communicate in French with the government after only 6 months of being in the country/province.
Is that the whole law, though?
No, there's more to it. Students in CEGEP and university now have to take 3 core classes in French. So it's not only
Yes, it's so it's CEGEP and university.
I believe it's CEGEP and university, or maybe it's one or the other. Okay.
And CEGEP, for our American fans, is equivalent to what? It's
so we have less amount of high school years.
Yeah.
But we have a 2-year professional diploma where you could use it to go into the work field, or you could use it as prerequisites to go into university.
Or you could also use it to just smoke weed with a whole bunch of strangers.
Yeah, so those are your 3 options when you go to CEGEP. So it's schooling in between high school and university that we only have here in.
So they would have to, an English student that went to, because there is also la loi 101, right?
So the bill 96 is the
evolution.
The evolution of Bill 101.
Which Bill 101 says that, like, if you're an immigrant, you have to go to French high school or something like that.
Yeah. You have to do French. You have to do your schooling in French.
So if you're immigrant, you have to go do French high school and then also take French classes in CEGEP?
Or you have to sing the national anthem in French or something.
Because apparently what I heard is that the reason why they're doing this is because the CEGEPs and universities that are in English are running out of space. Like they have too many students that want to study in English in au cégep.
I was one of those kids.
So yeah, of course, me too. So they're trying to like get a couple of kids to do more classes in a French cégep/university.
So Legault is acting. Passed this law after there's a person that's a sociologist, I believe, who does statistics, and he looked at the use of French language, and he made a prediction that by 2036 that the use of the French language would drop by like 20% by 2036. So by the year 2036, the use of the French language would drop a significant percentage. So in order to counter that, he passed this law.
But what the fuck does the use mean? Like, I'm gonna go to Tim Hortons and order in English? Like, is that what the use is? Because, bro, honestly, like French in Quebec, there's so much like support as far as like the culture goes and everything. I don't see that shit dying down. You know, I don't see like I don't see French people stop speaking French, honestly. I just see like maybe the service industry serving more in English.
I think the scare comes from the rise of immigrants coming to the country, right? And a lot of immigrants get to the country. A lot of times they know how to speak English. So they gravitate towards English schools, English work environments and whatnot. And now he's trying to counter that. So, but people are going to take him to court because I think the bill involves also businesses having to communicate in French, which is detrimental to a lot of businesses because they would have to write their contracts up in French.
You see, this is part of like a lot of his things that he's been doing. Like a year ago, he made it so that like government institutions like SAQ, which is where we buy our alcohol in Quebec,
government-owned establishment.
Yeah, every government-owned establishment, the music that they play has to be French.
Right.
So like, so many times I go in SAQ and I hear a song that like I made, you know, because it's like a lot of French. I work with a lot of French producers, you know, artists. So it's part of that same thing, and it's like, and that's a ridiculous thing, you know. But at the same time, it's like it's putting money in the people of like French artists, which is cool, you know. But I feel like François Legault, he has a tendency of doing that, and also it's part of his voter demographic,
Yeah.
you know. And like the Quebec elections, when are they?
October.
There you go, bro. Like the reason why he's doing that is to get like the support of like
The French community.
the French community, which is basically like everywhere except for Montreal, you know,
Yeah,
which
pretty
is
much.
how he got elected, is because of like, you know,
Yeah.
everywhere except for Montreal voted for him, you know,
Right.
which is a huge part of the population, you know.
Yeah.
It's like half of the Quebec population, I think, is outside of Montreal.
But this is what bothers me. So imagine you're an immigrant and you arrive in Quebec.
Yeah.
And then after 6 months, they want you to purely communicate with the government in French. Now, I have a little anecdote that I would like to share with the people here at the Pobo Show. When I was a kid, okay, I grew up going through French school all throughout high school, and then CEGEP I switched up to English, and then I did my university in English. So it's safe to say that I'm very educated. Now, not only that I'm very educated, but I also graduated at one of the most prestigious universities in all of Canada, Concordia University. Knowing that information now, my dad was a cab driver, right? And he would receive letters from the government talking about the legalities surrounding the industry, what new changes were going to be made, he would have to do with his license and whatnot. And I remember being in my early 20s. And
This is he'd be getting letters for what?
from the government
For what?
about the legalities surrounding the industry and what changes were going to be made, what type of insurance he would have to pay. Like
This is in what year? What year?
This is like 2000. Well,
Okay, a long time ago.
2000, like 10, 11, 12, 13.
And like, what
14.
happened so that you would be getting letters?
So he would get these letters from the government, and then he would open them up and he wouldn't understand them. And me, obviously being
French.
being French, and the guy who went to high school in French, he's like, obviously my son's gonna understand. Yo, kid, read this. And I used to dread that task so much because the legislative language that
Is
they use
horrible.
in French is
I don't get it.
incoherent, like French that you can't understand. Okay, and I was there with my girlfriend at the time, and we were both trying to make sense of this letter so I could tell my dad what's his next move. And we were both sitting there like puzzled, and I was having like an anxiety attack because his whole sacrifice was like, I'm gonna send send my kids to school so they're educated, so they can help me out.
Educated.
Yeah, educated. And I couldn't explain to him what the fucking letter was trying to tell him. And I sat there and I read it like 10 times with my girlfriend at the time, and we couldn't.
Was she French? No.
No, but she went to French high school. She was like a first generation immigrant like me. Am I first generation? If my parents moved here,
Yeah,
and I'm the first one born here. Yeah. I'm the first one born in Canada, so I'm first generation. Anyways, we couldn't make sense of the letter. Now, I was telling the story to my Canadian friend. He says, yo, my dad would flip out every time he would receive letters from the government because his Canadian dad, born and bred in Canada for years, his whole ancestry comes from Canada, couldn't understand the letters.
Because they were written in French?
Yeah, because the way that they write the French.
But he was living in Quebec. That's why he got letters in French?
A French Canadian man didn't understand the French of the letters.
Well, I'm
written
not
by the
surprised,
government.
bro. French Canadian people, you know, they speak a certain way, honestly, which is like, yeah.
But all this to say that a native French person wouldn't understand the letters. So now you're expecting immigrants that have arrived in Canada for 6 months, Quebec, to communicate purely in French with the government, which is almost an impossible task. It's like almost as if I told you, go to another country, you have 6 months to learn the language.
Yeah. Are you sure it's 6 months after getting to the country, or is it 6 months after becoming a citizen?
No, it's 6 months after you're in the country.
Because honestly, like I have friends who wanted to that were from Toronto, you know, and that spent years in Montreal and never learned a word of French, you know, and then they wanted to become a permanent citizen, so they had to do a test, and the test was like Quebec history. In what year did Quebec do the traité de whatever?
All I remember is 1534.
I don't know what the fuck
I think that was
is.
Jacques Cartier.
1534, but I don't know what the
That's
fuck
the one year that
is.
stands out to me. Guys, look it up.
Anyways, man, I'd be curious to look into it a little bit more, but it sounds to me like a whole bunch of getting reelected politics, you know?
Yeah, and also like for students that are English speaking students, probably international or just Anglophones or Canadians, English speaking Canadians, to have to take 3 core classes, not electives, core classes where just the substance of what you're learning is difficult by itself. Now you have to do that in hard mode in French. It's like,
I remember when I was in Dawson, there were French students in my classes that didn't speak English very well, and they had the option to do the exam in English, in French, and they had the option to get like all the class notes in French. At Concordia, same thing. I was in English, and there was French students, and they had the option of doing shit in French.
yeah.
I think it's kind of it's a dream, you know, to have a purely balanced French, English, Quebec, you know?
And yo, this is the thing I want to say. I have no problem with the French language. I think it's a beautiful language when it's well spoken. And I think it should be preserved. But I think there's different measures that you can take that are less invasive. Listen, if you're a student and you want to be an international business guy, you want to learn English. You want to
But you also want to learn a new language. There's nothing wrong with learning a new language. I feel like Quebec is a beautiful place because of the idea that like you are bilingual. Like anywhere else in Canada
or in
the States, only English. Even the States in the certain parts they speak Spanish. Like very well, you know, like you have like bienvenidos beside the welcome, you know.
And I'm actually not completely against the idea of preserving the French language. I think it's cool to have it like.
But you could do it through different avenues.
Yeah, you could do it through different avenues.
I feel like the culture avenue is one of the best ones because ever like especially these past few years, these past like 5 years, I feel like there's a lot of like Montreal French musicians
that are surfacing
and that get attention from like English speaking Quebecers, which is huge, you know.
Honestly, but that's where I would focus my resources in. It would be music and movie. There's nothing that impacts or influences people more than music and movies. Every time you hear a hit song, it like makes you want to be a French rapper.
Exactly,
you know, if it's a hit, if it's a rapper, sometimes you watch a movie and you want to be the main character. You know,
there is honestly Quebec has always been good at both those things. You know, movies. Now it's becoming even better. Like I love like certain French series. I think they're like very like there's like a certain like darkness to it and like a you know it feels like familiar, you know.
Yeah, but also seeing that inspires the person to want to
learn exactly because it's rich. The culture is rich
more than these boundaries and these invasive, annoying.
But you know but the reason why he's doing that is to get elected. It's like it's divisive politics, you know, and divisive politics is the way you draw the line between who's gonna vote for you and who's not. And like it's always been a big part of
Quebec.
Like it's always been a big part of like votership, you know, French versus English, this or that, you know. Like even the environment can't supply as many votes as like a divisive language policy. Like a divisive language policy, that shit's gonna bank you like thousands of votes, you know.
But there's something else that I really ingrained in my mind recently, and I realized that what's going on online is zero reflective of reality. So these rules could pass.
Nobody's gonna know.
No, exactly. Not only that,
they're gonna be like, yo, Johnny Depp.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's not like someone's gonna knock at your door and be like, en français, s'il vous plaît. You know what I mean? Like nobody's gonna come at the pool boy show, you know, and bust their balls.
Hey babe, what are we eating tonight? Ding dong. Did you mean qu'est-ce qu'on mange ce soir? Quebec.
There's a Simpsons clip where it's like it's a French class in the Simpsons, and then like the teacher does something and everybody laughs like ha 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 ha, and then like
en français s'il vous plaît,
and then, that's a classic one. That's what exactly on. Okay, that's hilarious. Okay, guys, moving on to the next topic.
Yo, I need to go do pee-pee.
Okay, pee-pee break. Pee-pee break.
2 second pee-pee break. 2 pee-pee breaks.
Oh.